Well, hey everybody, welcome to another clip on highly skilled and deeply formed. And today I want to look at the idea of moving people. You know, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I think that if you had to ask me, what do you think the primary role of a church leader is? I think one of the primary roles is moving people. Not running events, but moving people. Henry Blackaby said this in his book on spiritual leadership when he defined what it was. He said spiritual leadership is about moving people onto God's agenda. When I think about this here at Urban Edge, we've had over 1,000 first-time guests coming through our doors. We've had almost 700 responses to the gospel, and that's wonderful. But the question is, where are these people? And have I moved any of these people towards their next steps? This is so key. Research shows that a person's church satisfaction is directly linked to whether they have access to a leader or somebody that knows their name. In other words, if there's not somebody who's been intentional about moving somebody, having a connection, helping them to connect to their next step, then there is a level of dissatisfaction within people. It's so important that connection happens so that next steps can take place. Often when we talk about this, we talk about moving people from the crowd to the core. And for many of us, we've adopted strategies like growth track. We tell people, we make it clear, tell people hop into growth track. But can I be honest with you? For me, this is still the lowest level of movement. The highest level of movement for me is when staff and leaders actively, on a weekly basis, keep moving people personally onto their next steps. I'll never forget when we had one of our welcome parties. I met somebody there, and he told me that the very first time that he came to church, 4 different people within our community had approached him, greeted him, connected with him, and asked him if he was a part of a connect group. He was so blessed and so impressed by this. People actively trying to move people onto their next steps. So let me give you 3 things that you can do if you want to help your staff and help yourself to be able to move people onto the next steps. Number 1, train your staff and your teams to move people into their next steps on Sundays. We spend too much time administrating. This is simple stuff. Get your people to help people take their next steps. Often when we get to our first lot of meetings on a Monday or Tuesday, we spend so much time evaluating how the service went, but we don't spend any time asking our staff, who did you move onto their next step? And I think this is key. In fact, one of the things that we're wanting to do is to create more effective processes is we want to create a scoreboard for all our staff so that we can keep asking on a weekly basis, who have you moved, and help to take onto their next step. Number 2, keep identifying the next level of leadership and asking how you can train to move them forward into leadership. So we don't just need people to get into serving. We want to take those who are serving and move them into levels of leadership. We've got to keep moving the bucket forward. And number 3, never allow events and agendas to distract your staff from the core focus on a weekly basis. God bless.